First item, accept the minutes from the May 11th meeting. Daryl and Jay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Okay. Let's go right through the backfill requests. Yep.
First is aging and aging services. Aide per diem vacated May 31st due to a promotion to a part-time position. For DPW, the pavement management intern vacated May 18th due to a resignation. Public health, the clerk vacated May 19th due to a resignation. And a registered professional nurse also left due to a retirement. For the sewer district, we had the wastewater treatment plant operator vacated due to a retirement. And social services, a social services examiner vacated June 22nd due to a resignation.
And these have all gone through committee and all been approved.
They're all good.
And you're doing for us.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions on any of the backfills? Okay, we're good to go there.
There is one more backfill, but it's, they're actually asking for a staffing pattern change in youth and alternative sentencing.
Okay.
They had a senior court referral specialist that left due to retirement, but they would like to backfill that with a court referral specialist, which would mean a staffing pattern change for them.
And you vetted this and you're okay with it? Okay.
Just so I'm straight, is that a,
It's a lower
yeah, okay.
position
So it's something we need to move to the full board for.
for staffing
For-
pattern.
Right. So, got it, Jay and Daryl? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Okay, discussion.
County youth director position is now vacant, so.
It is currently vacant.
It is, and we want to discuss how we want to move forward with filling that.
What has your office done in that regard? Anything so far?
We have applications
So
that we've
you
received.
posted it,
Mhm.
and with the requirements and background and all that kind of stuff. You have applications?
Yes,
Okay, and the normal process for department head would be we have somebody do some interviews and make recommendations to the board to do things.
yes.
Okay. Would anybody like to be in charge of that situation where you would review the resumes and do, how many interviews are we talking about? How many people are
I
qualified?
did yesterday. There's 4
Four, okay.
so far. I mean, we're still accepting applications.
Yeah, I'm only concerned.
There are
is June, I'm actually out of the country for 2 weeks.
Okay. I only mention that because the next item is the sewer district executive director, which Brian and I sat through all day Monday with interviews, and we've got that process to finish up. Then we have discussions with Al and Melissa and with you regarding sort of restructuring the whole sewer department down there based upon what they see going forward. So we're gonna be tied up with that for a while. So I'm asking if somebody else can kind of jump in and look at Mike Gray's position to say, you know, we're willing to do a couple of them. You going not it? You're going not it?
So is it not, so the interviews would not take place by the personnel committee anymore? Are we changing the process?
Oh, we would.
I guess I'm a little,
The sewer is different, right? I
the
guess.
sewer is, but
Okay.
the youth, I mean,
We would
what
still do
we've
the
been doing
interviews,
is
you're
not.
just talking about vetting through the.
Yeah, somebody like to be the person in charge to take care of that a little, the point person. Yeah, go through resumes and work things with Danielle and do that kind of stuff. But we'd still do the interviews.
Yeah,
Well,
During committee meeting?
just like we always, do.
Yeah.
Right.
have a special.
We just have a special committee meeting and we do the interviews.
That's how we got changed.
right, so we're gonna say, well, if we have 4 applicants, we're gonna do all 4.
Well, unless you want to disqualify some, but I don't know.
That's what I'm asking is that whole process too.
I did review more than just the 4, like there were more
Oh, there were,
applicants
okay.
that didn't meet the qualifications, so that's already been done. Now,
Okay.
these are like the ones that are, and then you could maybe review them and then see if you can interview from there.
If they're all qualified, then we have to interview.
Yeah.
So that is just not the meeting, but while we're having this discussion, I'm gonna ask Daryl, because in theory, I have vacation for the last week in June, in theory, last year. in June. That's 2 of us.
When is it vacated? As of,
It is,
For a week, 2 weeks, been a month, been 2 months?
I think it's only been.
I guess it's-
End of
Yeah,
May,
4 meeting.
May
Okay,
30th.
when does the thing close?
We have not closed it yet.
Right.
Still,
No,
it's
it's,
still posted.
but it's just open, or is there an end date?
It's open. We can close it whatever date.
And how long has it been open?
Let's interview before. and
It's
move
been
on.
open prior to, once we found out that.
Oh, so it's been a
It's
while.
been a while.
Yeah.
Okay, so we,
We
you
can
okay,
close
you okay with
it.
closing it?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's just set it, interview.
I'm asking if somebody else would be the point person instead of me, because we're gonna be tied over the sewer district so much. I get the point, we're gonna interview here, but
What's one day? You were tied up that much?
No, so you want us to be point person to do what exactly?
review these, get the questions together, talk to, get more familiar with the department, run the interviews, things like that.
I can work with Danielle to do that. We've done that.
Okay.
I don't have
We're
a
just
problem
gonna
doing the other if you don't do it that week.
Well, what's our critical time frame then? If we're getting, you're gonna be gone for 2 weeks at the end of June, you're gonna be gone for we get the end of June, can we wait till July to do this? We have July 4th, is a Tuesday, we gotta go after that, or do we need to move it along?
Are we trying to move this next week?
Yeah,
That's what I'm thinking, we're trying to get the interview done.
yeah.
How many internal candidates do you have? One. And then 3 others?
So we're doing an extra meeting on the 14th, so if I'm already here on the 14th, I can do it that day.
Extra meeting.
That's just us, it's
Oh.
just that,
Of
yeah.
next week. Of next,
So that's
of June.
Wednesday.
I'm just throwing that out there, because that's, Melissa's already got it for something at 10 o'clock. which
Yeah.
So that
It
would
would be awesome to have an end time on that, so.
That's
So
six-
that's at 10:30.
that's 6 days,
New way
6
of
days from
approaching
now.
things.
Flag day, we're good.
If you have 6 days notice, can you arrange?
I mean,
something?
yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah, we can call them and get them in for sure.
Hey, well, that's what we're supposed to
It's
do.
just,
Okay.
we have to squeeze for, yeah, okay, after the 10 o'clock.
So probably start at
11.
noon or, well, no, we won't be done that quickly. I would say
10:05?
probably by 11:30 or 12.
Let's do 11:30.
Yes.
And then we'll do
Like
our
20, I think,
hour.
45 minutes apart, like we typically do. Little discussion.
Debbie, do we have to schedule a meeting and then go to executive session and do all this and come out of executive session? That's 6 days from now. Is that enough time to, Post the
we'll
meeting?
Get it out today, yeah.
Fine, so.
okay.
Perfect.
I mean, are you gonna need time to look at the applicants' paperwork prior to the start? of the interview?
I can send them out. I'll send them out today.
It's just, we have Monday with sewer district commissioners, right? And then we have to get that taken care of for Friday. I understand we're gonna have a busy week next week. Can you two sort of be the point people that run through that? All right, I appreciate that. Okay, so
The commission.
give me Monday. Yeah. And we gotta be prepared for Friday.
Because there's an internal applicant, probability is high. Questions is really good to accept the position.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
No idea, we have to see what they're, as long as you don't ask them about certain things, you can ask them about everything else.
That's clear.
You know what their staffing pattern is.
So Cass, can you and Sue just touch base with these two guys and say, okay, here's the format we're gonna use and we're gonna discuss these up. Because we gotta have that stuff ready for Friday.
We may not, we don't know.
You don't know.
We need to know that before.
It's like all cascades, possibilities. Looking at the Department of.
And I did speak with that person. And there was kind of a discussion, so we can talk about that.
Yeah, okay, we're all thinking the same.
Yeah,
You good with that?
Yep.
All right. Next is the sewer district discussion. We had all the interviews on Monday. The commissioners have some ideas, Joe has some ideas. They're meeting on next Monday, right? Their meeting next
13th,
Monday
whatever it
The
is.
30th.
to,
It's
they could
Tuesdays
come
and
to, they
Thursdays.
could come to a conclusion, they could come to a suggestion, they could come to a recommendation. And then we have to talk to them before Friday, in case we need to bring it to the board on Friday. So,
You guys are talking the 13th, so you know that's Tuesday.
is it Tuesday, whatever day they're meeting?
Whatever,
Is it around here?
13th is all I know.
No, I think so.
Yep.
Okay,
16th
Tuesday.
is our meeting the week
So,
before.
yeah, so if they have a recommendation, we're gonna do something on Friday the 16th, but we don't know what it is, or if we're gonna do something until they meet.
And they don't meet till
we
afternoon,
would
right?
need
So
an
we
offer.
won't know till
Right.
the morning of the 14th.
So something will happen next Friday in our board meeting, one way or the other. Or not.
Some always does.
Well,
Every day, something.
everything seems to be down there sort of critical time frame, because if not, we gotta wait another month. And they're saying that that's just not feasible to go another month without making a decision. So that'll be happening next week too. Anything you wanna add about that, Brian?
No, nothing. We're good.
It's a lot of infrastructure and a lot of layers. Every time we get going, there's another layer we gotta kind of.
I
deal
like
with.
this whole subject. Brian's got nothing to say on it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, funny to
Mark
do
it
that.
on the calendar.
we interviewed 3 great
Oh, I
candidates.
screwed it up.
No, we interviewed 3 great candidates and they're just now looking as to whether one fits, 2 fits, or whatever fits. And that's.
Restructure also.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
they came to that conclusion.
I think they want to come to a conclusion on the executive director. And then look at the whole rest of it from a personnel standpoint and from a budgetary standpoint. And it's not a clear picture. That's gonna
Which
be,
is what their discussion is supposed to be on Tuesday.
Yes.
So
What's our role? What's our role?
with the structuring,
Yeah.
well, the staffing pattern and making sure the positions are budgeted with it,
that they're in the civil service,
right?
that they're taken care of properly through civil service. And that the money is budgeted through sewer district to pay for those things. Currently, can I say it's not completely in alignment
May or may not
currently?
be true.
But they want to change the staffing pattern anyway, which would really throw it out of alignment. We've got to coalesce to bring it back as
Right.
close as we can. So certainly for 24, we've got to have everything lined up.
Right.
So that's
It's
good.
probably gonna be amended for 23.
Yeah, it's gonna be, a mess, but we'll
It
get
is
there.
sewer district.
Get there. We're gonna have a new person. We're gonna have a shadow, part-time, or a whatever for how long, 23, which is gonna be different. 24. Yeah. Yeah, there's gonna be.
Are you open to this one?
But I know.
We like Jay, so we're letting him off the hook. For now,
Currently not.
for now. Alternative sentencing is nothing.
It's true. You
But
can have that all.
we did have great
you want.
dialogue. It was the best meeting we ever had between the 2 groups. It was really good.
It comes across as budget neutral or in line.
No.
That's a nice thought, isn't there?
Hey, flush that thought there.
Where's that red button?
And plus, all the
But it's
positions,
not available.
all the civil service positions that are available statewide, how are they gonna now factor into what we're setting up? Right, because there's positions that may not be in there now that they want, or one that they want out. And then there's the whole, this person's retiring in 2 years, this person wants to move up, this person doesn't want to do this, and
Yeah.
I think we'll get it
And then
set at
there's
one point, and then 6 months later. it
Are
could
you
be-
bringing it?
Yeah.
Are you bringing it?
And then the certifications that they.
And then the certifications that they need, licenses that they need, and then the provisional appointments, and then the test they gotta pass. Okay, that's enough discussion about the sewer district.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
You're right.
Sheriff SPL rates.
So in your packet are the special patrol officer rates for Argyle, Greenwich, Hartford, Hudson Falls, and Whitehall. And they would start on July 1st through June 30th of 2024.
So we would need a motion at the full board meeting to change.
To add those to the non-union hourly
Hourly schedule.
schedule.
Okay, so we'll see that next Friday.
And we are waiting on one more which I'll probably bring next month if they have that. And then,
Possible new one or just a
possible.
rate change?
it would be another rate change for one that they already have.
So these go into effect on July first, but they actually don't start working until school starts.
It might be.
They may,
Okay.
but,
Summer
Okay.
schools.
All right,
Yeah, no, the cut, Granville is really,
yeah,
is that the one you're talking about?
Granville was one that they were going to have in the summertime,
Okay.
but we did that one last month.
right. we did that one. Okay. Treasurer,
So this is in addition to your agenda. The treasurer had asked during the budget for a bookkeeper at 40 hours. The bookkeeper has since, or the senior account clerk would have been, bookkeeper has resigned. And he's actually backfilling that with
Resigned is
a,
a strong word. He was
she was,
post.
so he's actually wanting to backfill the senior account clerk position, but having it be that 40 hours, which he asked for already during the budget. So it would only change the staffing pattern for the hours.
From bookkeeper to senior account
Is
clerk.
So we
down,
never,
Down.
it
And it's,
didn't go to bookkeeper yet. It is, it is senior.
It
clerk,
still is a senior.
okay,
But it was scheduled to go to bookkeeper.
Okay.
We're not gonna do that.
We're on scheduling it, is what we're doing.
Yeah.
But we,
but you've been approved to get the 40 hours already, this is just,
it's approved for a 40-hour bookkeeper, and I'd like a 40-hour senior instead.
there we go.
So it's less money.
And Brian moved it, so,
Exactly.
lots of seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? All right, good.
Okay, the next thing is just to inform you that I'm having a public hearing on June 20th at 9 AM to amend the civil service rules. I'm asking the New York State Civil Service Commission to include a few titles to the help program. The help program is something that the state just added for us to use so that we can appoint people in a non-competitive way, where in turn, after a certain amount of time, they would reach competitive status. So without examination. So these are only for hard to fill positions. And the 3 positions that I'm asking for are caseworker, social services examiner, and communication officer. It's the end of this year, December 31st.
I'm talking about a number of years.
They would be competitive forever. They would just have to complete their probationary.
This goes away at the end of the year.
It does. This is just a short thing.
Right.
Right, because we have a lot of provisional appointments, so we've had a lot of exams where, like, social services examiner and caseworker, they've appointed everybody and the list exhausts, and then we are appointing provisionals, where this will help to not have to have any provisionals. They would just be appointed and then go through their probation, right? And then it depends on the position. Caseworkers up to 52 weeks. Social services is 26.
Could be up to 3 years.
Right.
So even after the end date of starting it, they still aren't gonna be in the position yet.
Right,
Wow.
right.
So this is gonna set a whole precedence.
It's a little
Because if it
different.
works, they'll send it again.
It sounds like a start of a little bit more to me, but again, they're only doing public health and safety positions.
So what's the public hearing about? Something you want changed, or is this to institute this actual program?
It's to add the caseworker, social services examiner, and communication officer in the non-competitive.
So this is the protocol on how you do it. You have to have a public hearing and with those 3. And if there was other jobs, you could have added them at the same time. Okay.
Right. But the commission has to approve it. So I have to do the hearing first, and then it goes to New York State for approval.
Did they come?
No. No.
Very interesting.
And no names out for now and see if anybody shows up.
Yeah.
She's required to do that anytime she changes the civil service rules.
It's all the time.
But you would think with something new, they might come.
Okay. All
What
right,
was that?
that was just a notice.
Notice.
Okay, handbook changes.
So in your packet, there are handbook changes as well. we wanted to update the health and dental insurance information on there. You'll see in red what was changed. We just added full-time employees as letter A, and the rest stayed the same. Below is the effective June 1, employees will contribute 25% to the premium. In the past, it was a little bit less there, you'll see above. Page 2, we have the qualifying events, which we've updated the list from what we're using, just to be consistent. Page 3, we've changed, some of them are to notify the personnel office now instead of the treasurer, since we now have the benefit specialist in our office. That's why those have changed. And
No, your responsibility got moved.
the last one, there was a late
Personnel office,
add.
personnel office.
Page 5.
County insurance broker personnel.
I was looking, oh, the back page. So page 6 was a late add of removing the reimbursement of Medicare costs. It's the strike through in the middle of the page on page 6.
They're all
We're
gone.
just removing that.
We were down to one. Yes.
That's really it. That's the second one.
Okay, all right.
This one.
Any questions, anything else? Oh, all right, you got a motion, move it. Change it, second. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
And the second one is the vacation donation, section 7.021. We removed everything since there's a vacation donation program, which was approved by the board on May 19th. So we're just referring to that.
Okay, that's the one thing. So move. Another motion today, second by Darrell. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
And the last thing is just informational. We are having Cliff Wellness Fair on June 27th in the basement training rooms for all
Yeah, but
county
Darrell
employees.
and Cassie will be here. You gotta change that.
Well, they
I
can
don't
join
think
them
we
at
should.
safety days. They can join them at safety
Oh,
days.
safety
We're
days.
also
Ah,
having
okay.
a DPW wellness fair this year for the first time at safety, following safety days for the DPW employees.
Okay. Question with the program for Danielle? Okay. Anybody else have anything else on personnel committee? Very well.
I'm feeling you, John. It is kind of cold out there today.
And
Yeah.
So damn thing, you should sit there, I shouldn't need to worry about my crap. Yes. I'm 14.
There's one with
I have
some
to
marks
wear
on
anyway.
If you want to get down to. This one probably here, so.
Oh, we got rain, my girl now.
crap. Mix the motion to the other. We gotta do that.
That's right.
Yeah, we're suffering.
Delicious. Got heavy on this side.
Hey, are you joining the
Maybe I'm
left?
sitting on the left
Are
side.
you raising the left party?
So I think they
Maybe you should switch to the other election, or maybe not.
Well, I am most libertarian. Right?
Yeah.
And we're talking about financial here, so I-
Motion for the May 11th minute. Moved by Carol, second by Jay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Okay, treasurer.
Alrighty. This is quickly. As
You know,
Set the cue. That's not the first one I've heard today. We know who's playing
First one I want to see some red on it.
as predicted, we're in the second quarter and there's some red numbers in our sales tax. And that's not shocking. We kind of thought that was gonna be a thing.
Which one's red?
I know.
The ones that have, the ones that have,
The ones that have brackets around it are red and I.
Oh, I thought it was colorblind.
I was saying over here, I'm like,
Which is love your.
I definitely see some red on here, but it's not red on
You've been
mine.
looking at Holstein so long, it's all black and white.
So yesterday's deposit was actually $179,000 lower than the same one last year. So that is the beginning of some concerning numbers. We do have to see how the rest of June plays out because they're guesstimates, and true ups. So they're looking statewide when they do their guesstimates, and they do a year look back too. So, be patient, but this isn't a shot that there's a downturn. What we want to do is make sure that the downturn is only minuscule and it isn't more than really what we've got built in the budget. So if you make budget, that's not the worst thing in the world. So you could take $1 million hit and still make budget. Let's not hope that happens, but that's not terrible.
We're still 1 point,
You can take $1.75 million.
correct, we're still 1.5 over 2 years ago at this time, so.
And if you look at 630, the 630 payment 2 years ago was 1.59 million, and then last year was only $500,000.
Right.
So that one thing I gotta believe is gonna somewhere hit in between, but not necessarily. It's going to the correct.
The biggest difference, Supervisor, is we've increased the budget by 5.
Yeah, I know.
So
Yeah.
that's the balancing act, right? So,
The header that starts at January 2018, does that just need to be retyped? We don't have one of the columns.
Yeah, so you don't see the rest of it, but I can provide you, I do have that far back in.
Yeah.
I actually have farther back than that. That can be shared under a different format. So I have some really good historical data if we ever want to really dig into this. Especially with like the use of pivot tables and stuff, we can really grab some data dumps and make some really interesting historical reports. So,
We were conservative in our approach here. We did 26 million,
Yes.
Where we finished last year, 27.7.
absolutely, because again, the budget officer board needs to find that balancing act between not budgeting too little and raising taxes artificially and not overestimating it. So you got to find that kind of sweet spot.
Plus you still have, this is about basically halfway through the year, less than half, but you have some big gift holidays coming up, right? Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas.
And you hope that our sales are strong during those periods. again, with our county, we have a benefit that not everyone has, where the more that we have delivered to our homes, the better we do. And I think, you know, one of the silver linings during COVID was our residents learned that that's pretty convenient to sit on your couch and have, I think I gave a Christmas card to my UPS driver this year because, you know, we did our part. So, but you find that it's a pretty convenient thing to sit on, you know, Amazon.com and have something dropped to your front step.
I can't believe it. I don't know how it works. It's magic. I will order something. I will have it the next day from the mailman.
And your dog gets a biscuit.
Yes.
I just gotta get my mailman to come.
My dog needs it. My dog needs it. I have
Yeah.
Our cash balances can still continue to be strong. Since this report was printed, my ICS rate is actually at 4.92 instead of 4.84. So our investment money continues to be pretty strong. I don't know that that number is going to stay that strong, but that's where we are today. On the budget to actual sheet, I won't spend a lot of time there because it's still fairly early in the year, what I consider early. General fund is lagging a little bit behind on things like the additional mortgage taxes and stuff like that. Other things are staying strong. The most notable thing that I wanted to bring to your attention is one of the things that we're hoping to be true, and Brian will be happy because I haven't even had a chance to talk to him about it yet. The carpool revenues, when I looked at those getting ready for today, the interdepartmental revenues were $36,000 over this time last year. And I was happy with that number until I delved into it deeper and found out that last year when they were through May, this year they're only through April. So we're actually a month behind this time last year. And last month's was 87,000. So we potentially are 110-ish above this time last year. So I think that rate adjustment is starting to bear fruit. And if that's the case, that's fantastic news for the future of carpool. You know, so long as we keep the expenses, you know, moderately budgeted, the revenues look like we might be able to get that fund back on the straight and narrow again. We're self-sufficient.
Getting vehicles grant funding really helps too.
Yeah, and for those of you that were able to be here for my presentation, we kind of gave a list of the vehicles that were bought last year, and that, you know, that was a nice little shot there too. We were able to, you know, leverage some COVID money and some grant monies and state monies to get another shot in the arm there. It was much needed. So by the time those vehicles need to be replaced, the fund should be back on track. It looks, for all intents and purposes, the fund looks like it is going to be at a level that it can sustain itself moving forward, so long as we don't make any drastic changes. The biggest thing that I pointed out in my financial report was being strict enough with yourselves that carpool money is only used for replacement. When you buy something new in carpool or county road machinery, new equipment has to be new money. So some of the mistakes that we made in the past, we've used replacement money for new equipment. So as long as we don't do that, we can actually right this ship, so to speak. So that was kind of the biggest thing with the budget that I wanted to point out is that looks like it is finally starting to bear the fruit that it was intended to bear. I shared with you also this quarter's casino distribution, which was 61,000. It's down a little bit from previous, but not nowhere near what the original promises were that were made to us. But it's revenue. The last thing, and Brian, if you want to do this now, it's next thing on the agenda anyway. The last thing in your packet is the fund balance policy. As you're probably aware, we're supposed to have one. We, back when Chris was here, took a couple of stabs at it. There were some things that we couldn't all agree on. I've submitted one that I'm open to feedback on, but it's what I've sent to you for your review is I took you're all familiar with the comptroller's fiscal stress scores. So I kind of looked at the metrics that he uses, right? And I kind of used that as a framework for us. So if those are the metrics that he believes to be important, then what's the harm in using those same metrics internally? So internally, we can make sure that we're meeting the metrics that the comptroller feels are important in fiscal stress scores. So what you see in my proposal is kind of framed around, especially the general fund, is framed around the comptroller's expectations. To put us in a no designation, 20% of your operations is fund balance. It used to be 2 months of, operations was the suggestion. But is to get no fiscal stress score, the new level is 20%. So that's what I've thrown in here as a proposal. I've also taken the time because it continues to come up in committees and especially at year end. The reserves that we have in general fund, I've listed those and how they are funded. Where does the money come from to get put into those funds? Mr. Hess.
20%, isn't that very geographically within New York State? If you're out near Buffalo, it should be 20% where you get so much snow, but maybe in areas where you don't get a lot of snow, it doesn't have to be 20%. I think 20% changes geographically. And I think if you just pick 20%, that would make it high.
Not the comptroller's one who picked 20%.
Right, but
He's using it as a.
but it's geographic.
No, he uses
No, he uses
20%
the
across the
state.
board.
Well,
And pe-
And like I said, I used his framework as a basis for ours, and it's just a recommendation.
And we certainly know 10% is way too low to cash flow payroll.
In 2 months, operations was 16 and change.
Yeah. We're not that far,
Yeah.
and the price of everything is expanded so much.
And remember that, the county has to fund operations for the first 3 months, really, before we start getting tax money. So that's kind of the, 20% is not a terrible number.
but doesn't the comptroller say up to 20%? It's not 20%. I think that's artificially high for our area.
So he's saying that's what he uses for a metric.
For
Well,
the-
fiscal-
As
fiscal
guidance
stress-
from the comptroller.
Right,
But
fiscal
But I think
stress.
the guidance from the comptroller is like maximum 20%.
So at 20%, you get no designation. So you get a perfect score with him if you're at 20%
Or more.
or more. Anything below 20%, you get ticked off.
And we will be above and below throughout the course of the next 10 or 20 years anyway. At certain times, it's for the things that happen. It's not gonna make us stay exactly at 20%. It's just the metrics of where you think you
And
should
the fund
be.
balance policy is really supposed to be a tool for the board and the budget officer as a framework. As you go into budget season, where are we? Where should we be? What can we do next year within this frame? Nothing in this policy locks you into this. Everything in this policy is overridable by your budgetary actions. But you have to adopt a fund balance policy at some level.
So you're looking at, you want 20% of 122 million.
Think about a $20 million fund balance at our current operation.
So you're not, what are you using? Not appropriations, not levy. You're using 100
We're using 100 million. Well, it's because your interfund transfers have to get deducted from the total,
That interfund transfer to county road isn't part of the 20% calculation.
right? Because that's in there twice. It's just the way the state makes us.
Okay, I'll be happy not using the entire appropriation.
But you have multiple funds.
Each fund should have a different
Okay, so
philosophy.
it's not like, well, we're gonna amalgamate all together.
Because-
And our 20%, this one's only 8, this one's 4, and this one's 6. You look at them all individually to make sure,
Yes, sir.
okay.
In theory, your county road machinery and your carpool funds, the ones I just spoke about, you really don't, if they're functioning properly, you could run a very small fund balance in there because they're supposed to be self-funded. So they should almost be a break even annually. You shouldn't be appropriating fund balance in those funds. So those special revenue funds, you can run a little bit tighter. You can run those at 5% or whatever the number is, 10%, 0%, whatever, with the understanding that if you come up short, general fund will have to cough up any variance. But you can run those extremely tighter and should run those extremely tighter because they should be self-funded. And I think the health insurance, self-insurance fund, I recommended even higher than 20% because of the volatility and the way that cycles. You will, over the course of a year or two, you will flatten out, but you will have peaks and valleys. You have to be able to absorb those. So that recommendation there is gonna be considerably higher.
I guess I got surprisingly and astonishingly disagree with Dan a little bit. Oh my God. Because I think,
Jesus
I
Christ, you're
think that, you know, problem snow and ice isn't a huge driver for us. You know, that's a little bit of overtime. I think the key issues we have to consider talking about fund balance is probably our largest departments like DSS. All we need is one state mandate unfunded. And we're in big budget trouble. And they do that. Particularly with this regime now, they do that fairly continuously, getting unfunded mandates all over the place. I'm not real comfortable with 20%. I think we ought to have 3 months operating and hopefully closer to 25 and some of those funds.
This is at least or no less than 20%. You're saying 20% or above, right? That's still what I'm reading here.
Right, I would like, yeah, I would like it to not drop below that.
That's a red
And
flag.
then you would have options if you were to be successful in going over it. So it kind of helps you not budget in a way that will bring you under that number. But it also, like this year, gives you some opportunities should you happen to exceed them. So it gives you planning tools if you're on either side.
And sometimes you're gonna go under like a one-time hit, like if we, you know.
Right, then the goal is to recover.
And you know you're gonna recover, so why are we replacing it? We're just waiting. And there's other times you're like, oh no, we need to, a major overhaul because we're in trouble.
And to Chairman Hankey's point, like right now with Marcelli being so far behind, I'm into them like 2.5 million. So when I need to be able to absorb that cash flow issue too. So to your point, there are things that are outside of our control.
And I just feel a little uncomfortable with 20% number right
And like I said, this is my recommendation to the board. You know, if you want some time to chew on it, that's great, but at some point we need to pass it.
You know, and staying a little bit higher doesn't disadvantage us. We always get into a condition where the rates change. Don't want to be financing. Use cash, use cash. So,
I'll be leveraging that comment in a few minutes.
And not only that, that money isn't necessarily gone, it's just earmarked. So it's still gaining interest on it, and still doing things that we want it to do.
You have to also think of the taxpayer.
That's
Because
what
if you have a larger unassigned fund balance and you need to, that money could have been brought back into towards the levy or something. You just can't say, let's have more money, without thinking of where it's coming. Right?
Well, we're looking to smooth out the roller coaster ride is the whole concept here, because if you get into a situation where you gotta finance something and we're in the service of debt, that impacts the taxpayer for a longer period of time. I understand what you're saying, and I agree, it's a balance.
So do we want more dialogue on this? Do we want more time to think about it? Or are we happy with it? I guess that's.
I'd like to amend it to say no more.
Ooh. Who's gonna second that one?
Daryl.
Usually only your wife speaks for you, now you have Dana speaking. They went away at my house.
I've seen a school district running at 90%, so.
And they're not allowed to have more than 4.
Right?
So what is the percentage required?
But again, this says no less than, at least.
Right.
It's a floor.
This is like,
You'd like it above there.
it's like if you hit that, you're
Then the
like,
red flag goes up.
what's going on? Yeah.
So when we drop below that number, we have to tighten our belts and have a conversation.
Yeah.
So that we don't burden the taxpayers with bad decisions, correct? I mean, that's, and if it helps Mr. Half feel better, we're gonna have a discussion in a minute here with your permission about what you do when you exceed that number. So he wants a no more than, and I'm about to have a conversation with you about the way that this gives you an option when you are more than. So that might help
But you're still keeping the money, putting it somewhere else.
But if I can use that money rather than borrow.
Rather than
half, I
borrowing is
will-
what we're
I
looking
will
at.
save the taxpayers interest money in the future. So to me, I am still saving taxpayer money. Because right now, if I borrow.
Yeah, if you have a-
4.5%.
If you have a $500,000 going on debt service that you shouldn't have, that's $500,000 you don't have to raise my taxes.
You wanna go any lower, you gotta cash flow to all the towns and the schools for 3 months. That's a lot.
Yeah, I like where it's at myself, but I don't know.
We should micromanage this, I think, in the future for the next 2 hours.
And
Just get a
everything,
starting point, and then.
Well, I cleared my calendar for today.
and everything in this,
Your dog's gotta go at 12:30 though.
11:07.
and everything in this policy is overridable by you all.
Yeah,
So everything in here is a movable target. This sets a framework to be used as a tool for budgeting. It's really supposed to be a budget tool more than anything.
It's kind of like a sensor, it's gonna go off whenever you hit the boundaries.
and we.
I'm just gonna come over to this side.
We have, yes, we are legally supposed to have.
It's not sure where he's
I
supposed to
will
sit.
move this. Just, okay.
We have a motion by Ben Hicks, a second by Darrell Wilson. Is there more discussion on the fund balance policy?
Vaguely like John.
Any more discussion?
I've never seen that.
They wanna know if there's any more discussion.
Yeah, John and I are having a sidebar.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Wait a minute, what are we doing?
You and Dana are having a sidebar. We just passed.
we-
Dana's got me foggy.
We've amended this to no more than 20%.
No.
Dana said, John, you look good with a.
That's the next part. That's the next part we're gonna do.
Motion was to accept as written.
I'm a nay.
I would suggest at the end of the year, well, it's not on December 31st, but sometime when you get the fund balance number, March, I don't know, you get it for the previous year.
I report out to you all in May.
You present it to us. And so, this one's 18, this one's 31, and give us all that information so that as we track that, maybe Dana's right to say, we need to amend this to take care of this.
And that's kind of
Well,
what
until we have the data,
we've done it automatically, but we haven't had.
There was a finance meeting recently that lady was skipping.
you emailed to me, already, I already had.
My point is, any extra money you always spend. Look at what's gonna happen with the voting machine. You're finding reasons to spend, and it doesn't seem to funnel back into helping the levy.
But it also would also be there at times of when you absolutely need something big
That's hocus pocus.
in the household, maybe, but not in a major
You come
business.
from-
You always find reasons to spend it, not save it.
You can argue
Okay.
about that.
Yeah.
Right here.
It passed anyway. Next.
So related to that.
Yeah.
One-
Yeah, and Roselle, where they know.
No, just.
John was
How was it, Ash?
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
Shall we twice?
So, Mr. Charles, guys.
Is this policy that they adopted in committee or this to be forwarded to the full
Gonna go to the full
board? Okay.
We'll have a chance to talk about it again.
Well, no, I mean.
Well, but the rest of the discussion's gonna help form it too, hopefully, that's where we're headed now.
So my next ask of the board, and I would have asked at the last finance meeting, but there really wasn't a forum. So I'm gonna ask now, maybe the fund balance policy was a better way to do it, and today was a smarter asking. So the presentation that I handed out shows our unreserved fund balance at 2022 ended up at 26.2. So what my ask is for the board today to consider, I would like you to take 5 million and put it out in the barn capital project. And I would like you to fund the election machine replacements. Whatever that number is. So about 5.7 million of the 6.2, I'd like to sweep into our capital needs. And again, my rationale behind that is whether you buy the machines out of general fund or capital projects, it's all fund balance money, right? But the 5 million, like I explained to you a few minutes ago, my desire there is, especially now that my interest rates are 5.5 and only going the wrong direction, if I don't have to borrow for the barns, it is my desire to not do that. The more that we can pay cash, the better we are for the taxpayers, because there's no sense making them pay 4.5% interest money on money that we have. And that we earn through the levy and through sales tax. I just can't philosophically wrap my head around why I would do that. So my ask to the board is $5 million investment in the barn project, and then whatever the investment in the machines is to come out of the capital plan, capital project. And the reason I want to do that is because then it puts a line in the capital plan, capital project, where they will live going forward as well. It should have been there to begin with, so that we could have planned for the replacement 10 years ago. So let's now get them into that capital plan so that the replacement is not a surprise in the future.
Well, I think to go off of that, though, the voting machines originally lasted forever, and now they're gonna be a 10 or 15 year. Yeah.
I like that motion for discussion.
So it's an amendment, it's a budget amendment to move $5.7 million from fund balance to the capital plan. Is that specific?
It's two separate capital.
Two separate capital projects, 5 million to one, and whatever the election number is. Which you're gonna talk about that later today.
So essentially, we're gonna move the requirement to fund those into the capital.
Isn't that step one? And then when you get to the money coming into the capital plan, you amend the capital plan for those.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Those are the two steps, right?
Yes.
First step.
So the 5 million will just go into contingency in the capital fund. The 700,000 or whatever,
That's
will
a
actually
130.
create a line.
And then capital plan for
In the
the other
capital
is
plan.
125. They're two different capital plans. I think it's one.
So one will go into contingency, one will go into an actual line for the machine.
I'm just wondering mechanically, I thought we would move $5.7 million in the capital plan.
They're two different capital plans on.
Gotcha.
They have numbers.
5 million to one, 700 to the other.
Yes.
And then when the requirement hits, fund.
I'm gonna second whatever Darryl said. Okay.
I did.
Oh, you did?
No.
Yeah.
Let's remove Cassie's name.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, now discussion.
Interest rates remain the same in either place, because I know at
What I'm
the town
earning.
level, we have to keep some.
That $5 million will continue to earn interest, yes, absolutely. And I will continue to leave it in the investment account where it's earning a higher amount, yes.
Other discussion. Good job.
And just point of clarity, the 5 million into the barn project, is that the county share? Because aren't we borrowing the money for the town too, to lower their costs of interest?
They're borrowing.
And I'm not looking at just the two that are in front of us currently, Mr. Shaw. I'm looking at, eventually, we're gonna be replacing this one. I mean, eventually, all 8 are gonna be on our radar. So this is beyond just the 2 that are currently in front of us.
But that's not my question. My question is, what's the story? Aren't we gonna help Fort Ann borrow the money?
Yes,
They borrow under our bonding, but we don't pay it, they do.
But they pay it to us? Or do they pay it? How's that? I mean, I'm trying to understand it. I'm not,
Yeah, we have to understand that.
how's that all working?
when the bond payment is due, the town will be billed by me. They will pay me and I will pay the bond. We've got that all worked out with fiscal advisors and the bond companies.
And the 5 million that you're gonna transfer is gonna be part of that,
Our share.
It's our share, not their
but
share.
not for both barns. Only, that won't cover both barns, will it?
We've already got 5 million out there.
Yeah.
So now we're increasing it to 10. And that will cover our share.
Of potentially
It
both.
should be more than our share.
It should leave a little bit for a third barn.
Well, I mean, I think that we all need to understand this, if we're transferring money
So
around, then we ought to
the
know.
barn project is in theory for the replacement of all 8, whenever they happen. So you're just funding that project. It's not specific to any one barn.
So if there's money left over after these 2 barns are constructed, it stays in the capital project.
Right.
For another
Next
bond.
one.
So the next
For
bond.
whatever it might be the next one that you all want to
And
tackle.
so Fort Ann's borrowing has nothing to do with this.
Right.
Okay, thank you. I got it now.
This is a way to keep the county interest costs down.
I'm just wanted it clear before
Yes,
we
no,
start
absolutely.
passing money around.
Mr. Guy.
On your second sheet, there's a couple capital construction, capital, it's not part of these, like you got one at the top, 4 million. And then you've got under Glens Falls National Bank, 16 million, those aren't part of it. They're called capital construction.
You and the cash balances?
No, I'm in the Glens Falls National
Yeah, okay.
Bank sheets.
And any money that's still in those checking accounts is just money they haven't moved at the investment account.
Okay, but you don't have a capital plan for this.
The capital construction account encompasses all of the capital projects.
Okay, but what do you have down in Glens Falls National Bank is 16 million under the capital construction.
And that's what's in the investment account, and the stuff that's in the checking account up above will be moved down into the investment.
Okay. All right.
I don't leave it in the checking account any longer than I have.
That's so that you can.
I can maximize the interest on it.
Okay, so if we have 16 million in invested and then another 4 million in your liquidity account, you've already got 20 million.
Well, 11 of the 16 is ARPA money. It's not related to any of that. And there's 5 million in the barn project already, so most of the 16 is under 2 projects.
Okay.
So remember that 16 is all, so the report that I handed out to the board, for one of the first times, I actually gave you a list of all of the open capital projects. So there's 20-ish, whatever the number is, open. But to the bulk of them are the barn project and the arbor project. Just between the two of them is almost 16.
Any rates to get to the point where we decide to borrow.
If there's some
Well,
release.
like we did with the college when it was point whatever.
Right.
So if you move the 5 million you're talking about, it's gonna go down into the Glens Falls National Bank capital construction. It's gonna be added to that 16.
Or at 4.92%. Rather than me having to pay 4.5% to borrow. And right now, until the market turns, I'm earning more than I'm borrowing. So there are some significant decisions to be made at trigger points.
Do you have anywhere on these sheets what we actually get as revenue as interest and earnings? Or is it just,
Well,
it's part of all these numbers, but do we have any idea what magnitude we're getting?
and remember, it varies as all your taxes come in, you're at the high mark, then as you spend during the year, that keeps going down, so there's a lot less money.
No, he gets a month, he gets it.
Right, but it would change, I just mean it'll vary a lot from month to month as you get towards the end of the year. And then those first 3 months of the year where you're making the schools whole, the town whole, everybody
If you
whole.
have more money.
You have a lot less money.
I'm wondering if I'm just curious how much money we actually gain in interest.
And how much we budget. It should be in your budget. We budget X and
Well,
we're way over
we
X.
didn't even come close.
Oh, it's in there.
Yeah, I'm sure we didn't, I'm sure we didn't budget.
There's a line
enough.
item in there, sure.
Because it's spread out, it's like unemployment or social security is probably every.
It would be in each, it would be general fund would have its line, or whatever.
So the advantage of what, I know what bank you use, Glens Falls right now, they're creating a pretty good program where you can move stuff in and out of the money markets with transfer.
Through competition. they
All you do is pull a little bit out, to keep your operating fund going. It's almost like cash. It transfers immediately, so you keep it in the higher bearing account.
That's how you do a run on the bank, and the bank captures that.
Just in the general fund, this time last year, there was $43,000 in interest. To date, in general fund, we have $437,000.
Wow.
So the investment account has significantly increased. Yeah. It's a major, that's why I try to really stay on top of
But you didn't
it.
budget that much.
We budgeted 350.
Where can I find what we budgeted?
So
Is it in the budget?
it's in the department is 9,900 pooled unallocable.
Well, how much in the general fund?
Oh, okay.
350.
350, Dan. We budgeted 350 for
And
the
I'm
year. We got
already-
423 already.
In May 31st, I'm already above budget.
Where did it fall under your fund numbers?
So this will get us, it would leave me $500,000 over my 20% recommendation.
Which we may
Now,
need
you
for
remember-
things that can happen during the year.
Remember, because I want to be completely transparent, the $26 million that I told you is the unreserved and unappropriated. you appropriated 2.7. So there's a chance that you won't use any of that. So 26 isn't your full fund balance right now. You actually have 28.7. But if you don't, so as much of the 2.7 that you don't use, that 26 could be a higher number as well. So at the 20 million is almost a worst case right now. If that makes any sense. So if you use every penny,
Where are
that-
we at the 20% or 22%?
this will bring you just above the 20%. It'll be like 20.2.
Where is it in the budget now?
In the department's 9,900 pooled unallocable.
The only unallocable we have is insurance.
No, that's,
So
there's a department 9,900.
Okay.
Isn't the bulk of it general fund?
I found it.
The very vast majority is general fund, yeah.
Okay, I found it.
You, and there's a significant amount of interest in the capital projects that you will not find because they're not budgeted.
It is, goes in there.
Correct.
So what it means is it's a cheap policy standard, but that still
And
gets us
funding.
into a conversation as to how much risk we have and what we use it for. It's a great conversation to have because we're in a position where I think county's been in a while, which is how much do you retain to invest? That's not what's going on with the market.
Right, whether it's worthwhile or not.
It was a very different presentation this year to the board.
Well, and the other thing is, this isn't any different than what we really have done in the past. We just never had a policy to formulate so everyone would understand it. That's what the guidelines are. But this is what we've always tried to
We
do.
had informal conversations
Yeah.
at budget time, right?
So that's
this
part
kind
of the same for town level.
You can't, yeah.
Sure, absolutely.
I mean,
And we're way above 70. We're trying to build a barn. We're gonna be below it. We get down.
350,000 was the budgeted. And you're at 450.
that wasn't budgeted.
457,
That wasn't budgeted.
and that's through May, Mr. So anything after May now is surplus. And that starts chipping away at that 2.7 that you budgeted for appropriate fund. That's why if you want sales tax, at least make budget, right? That's kind of why you want.
Right, because if it loses budget, it takes all your surplus.
Sure.
Which is good.
So, yeah, we've had a motion and a second to move that money. So any more discussion on that? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried.
Don't forget, any of you can come. Sorry, John?
This goes to the full board.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
And don't forget, any of you can always come see me at any time if you have questions outside. I'm more than happy to sit with you one-on-one at any time.
There. We are mental health, which is
Thank you.
resolution A. And it's the state aid resolution. By Darrell, second by Sue. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried.
Okay.
Voting machines. Right?
We're going for the resolution.
Well, I was gonna go through it. Voting machines is the second one on the agenda. Cool. Right to that.
No, it's on.
Yeah.
Do we have a resolution?
Yeah, I'll gladly finish the resolution, but it's gonna cover all, it's gonna cover all these things anyway. Okay, county road fund for additional CHIP funding.
Yeah.
Moved by Jay, second by Cassie, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Okay, sheriff, gun cabinets. Motion. Moved by Darrell, second by Cassie, any discussion?
I have a question, but it's probably not appropriate in that open discussion, but maybe Bob will know the answer. Honestly.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution D, Lock Gateway Bridge execute municipal agreement. Moved by Darrell, second. Jay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Mr. Shaw.
Yeah, when it gets all done on this, what's the actual cost for the county? Because what we're getting is Bailey Bridge out of it, so what's,
There shouldn't be any cost. It should be the IDA's cost other than administration.
Admin that we're paying. in.
Right,
oh, so there is no cost other, we just are fronting the money,
right.
but we're getting it all
I
back?
guess loss of interest on money that was out, that would
That,
be it.
yeah,
And the time in the treasurer's office they spend.
right,
Yes.
okay, good, thank you.
Not being made whole on the time of the highway department, the treasurer's office, that will be made whole by the British. Even though we said we had a resolution that we wanted the ID to do a certain thing, and they didn't do a certain thing, it'd be ramification, now it no longer is. So Dave, when he tells his ID board, he says, just be patient, they won't do what they said they're gonna do.
Anyway, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, resolution E. You want to tell us what all this is?
Most years, we skipped a couple during COVID. So most years, what we'd like to do is go back and clean up the line items in the prior year, so that when you get to budget season, you're looking at apples to apples. So this is all line items that need to be adjusted. And it's all except for workers' comp, they're all just transfers between line items. There's no new money in any of this except for workers' comp. Everything else is transfer between line items.
Workers' comp just fell short.
The workers' comp had a high cost claimant that
Yeah.
we had no choice. And that was, back when I first came here, we used to budget in total. So you had a total point one, a total point two, and a total point four. Now you get better reporting because you get this budget at each line item. The downside of that is this resolution, because you have to go through and kind of clean up where you guessed right and where you guessed wrong.
And
So
so
we wait and do it once a year, so.
one more caveat is the part-time, right, doesn't work in the world,
And we'll be having more conversation about that at budget time.
but that's gonna
And I'm
go away,
I'm
right?
gonna again recommend that we just get rid of it,
Okay.
because the system cannot do what we want it to do.
The
So
system,
budgeting for it is an active
the
utility.
system doesn't handle part-time, but so I want to pick it up now, because you're gonna hear it again. That it's just gonna be in the point one, the part-time is somewhere, because
We try to have a separate line for the part-timers.
it's
We
way
were
more
going to,
expensive.
there was a module in New World called position budgeting that we're going to go with. That module failed our needs, so the budgetary requirement, we never took out. And so that line really needs to just go away and be rolled up into the regular.
Now I'm disappointed in the fact that we're off by $1 in a couple of weeks.
I'm disappointed that I have to present you a resolution. that has a-
Responsibility.
Yeah.
Lord Brian.
By Mark, I'm pretty happy.
I do very good monitoring.
Okay, Dana.
In all of these, if you see increased appropriation, that means we kind of under budgeted. But if it says decreased appropriation, we over budgeted.
Yes. Like I said, so everything here except for workers' comp is budget neutral.
Nothing says decreased revenue.
No, we only increased.
We didn't fall short of any budget revenue.
Right, we increased by $3 million.
No way, really.
But we don't need to adjust revenues or appropriations. You can't overspend a line, or you shouldn't overspend. You can underestimate revenue all day. I'll take that gladly.
We always overspend a lot, that's why we amend.
And this is a cleanup of
that. Yeah. This is the one that cleans it all. Okay, so I need a motion. This second. Moved by James, second. Dave,
Maybe you don't have the answer for this. I was surprised to see the boarding of prisoners in there, the board out prisoners. Process.
where is it?
Second page, 831.15 point, and 47.41.
Exactly, actually.
well, I know we're boarding out one from Hebron at the moment, but that would be a.
That would be a
It wouldn't take long to get to 15,000, honestly, so I can't tell you to answer your question.
Okay, I didn't know. I'll ask the question elsewhere. It seems odd that we're spending money to work with.
I think you're right, though, it was probably a certain pod that they didn't have room or for that type of person.
I'll ask the question.
The good news is that that number wasn't for very long.
Right, yeah. No, that's not a huge number. I wasn't-
For what it costs.
I wasn't concerned about the number, I was concerned about.
Did it happen?
It's why it happened,
Yeah.
yeah.
Understood.
One more discussion,
Charge Daryl.
Sue?
To Bob's point, this is 2022. And
Yes.
so in
Yeah.
2023, that number could look differently, and then probably would
Right,
be a
well,
good idea to check into it.
Yeah.
We definitely get it.
Exactly.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carry. Okay. So now. The voting machines on the last page.
Everyone's received the newest comparison for the voting machines. I'm just asking our CIO to come up just in case you have technical questions. So Terry, myself, and our purchasing coordinator reached out to each three of the vendors, had lengthy discussions with each vendor to make sure that we were able to present you with the best comparison of the products that we're looking at. So there were some changes from the last sheet that you saw. I think one of the biggest ones is that Dominion and Clear Ballot do offer on-demand printers. So those have been added to those columns. The other addition was that there is a $6,000, I guess $6,100 difference with Hart, because there were some added items that had to be added to that. And one is the V drive duplicator, and then one more workstation. So there is a slight difference from the original quote for Hart. Tried to show you in the top section of each one of that columns, which ones are certified by the state, and then how we're able to purchase them, whether it's state contract or a purchasing cooperative. And nothing has changed with Clear Ballot as far as it's still not New York State certified. We don't know when it'll show up on state contracts. We can predict or try to predict it might be the end of the year, but we don't have any way of really knowing that.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you two for giving us the apples to apples comparison. Most helpful. This is great, side by side, so thank you for that.
My question was, the original ones, the original numbers, are this 74? And the current one, 74, so where is the V drive duplicator and one workstation additional
The
amount?
top amount, that, the top, the 740
Shouldn't have
has
changed
been
it,
added to that.
778.
Yes.
Thank you. Kathy, got it.
Been a few changes.
It's just 6 copies. Right. Thank you.
Day and a half.
I see in the Dominion and the Clear Ballot, they're offering 5 additional machines instead of 45, they're offering 50, but they also include 40 laptops, and Hart says nothing about laptops.
Because I'll let you answer.
I think I can speak to that. I'm gonna lean on you guys in case I get anything correct on the voting machines. So on the voting machine side, the way that I understand it is that the Hart system has their machine, the regular voting machine, then they have the handicap voting machine. Those voting machines, the handicap machines, can be used as a spare if something happens to the primary machine. The other 2 vendors do not have separate machines, one for main and one for handicap. There are one machine for everything, so you have to have extra spares to be able to bring around if something happens to the primary machine. So that's the difference in the quantity. So you actually have less machines all in all in Hart than the other 2.
Hart gives an ADA machine and the other 2 don't offer an ADA machine. They just say the laptop will cover the ADA.
The laptop is irrelevant, so I'll talk to that. So that was the voting machines. The laptop are related to the printing, the on-demand printing solutions for these 2 vendors. So these 2 vendors offer on-demand printing for the ballots, but the on-demand printing includes a laptop and a printer connected to it on site.
And Hart did not require.
Hart does not. Hart has a completely enclosed system that comes in a suitcase that you open up and yes, there's no laptop involved, so it's a little less complicated.
As a result, it's never connected, never requires network connectivity.
Correct.
With Hart. The other two have to, how do we ensure that the other two are not connected the day of? Is there security processes, procedures that are in place?
The network adapters are disabled,
Okay.
yeah. But they are still laptops. They do still run Windows.
Right.
So keep that in mind.
They're still connected to Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
That's how they speak to the printer, right?
No, they're hardwired with a USB cable.
Right, we talked about that.
John was out.
Sorry, no.
We already put these up for bid.
No,
One state contract and one is best value by work.
bid, not bid, so close.
No,
Purchasing.
oh, yes,
Purchasing cooperative, so one's state contract, the other one's are those.
so state contract is a
Purchasing
bid,
cooperatives.
Okay.
right?
That we've authorized when we do the value check. So they've been pre-bid. You know.
They have been pre-bid, that's right.
So we
Just
haven't
like state
accept, we haven't made a decision to accept.
Any of them, yeah, right.
Personally, I like the hard one, but my question is the anticipated on the, let me say, OGS contract. So if we select that one, anticipation is no longer anticipated, it doesn't happen.
So right now, it's available if we purchase it through buy board. It is anticipated that they will be on New York State contract in August, but when that happens, we do expect that price to go up quite a bit.
Contract.
Yes,
New York State contract pricing or New York State certified? Which one?
it's already been certified.
You talking about clear
New York
ballot, Sam?
State Part, I think.
Okay.
See right up on the boundary, it says anticipated.
So we expect the price to go up
Yeah, that's my
once
point.
it
It'll
hits.
go up if we don't.
Yes,
The discount will likely disappear. That's been my experience.
that's what they.
I don't know how long these things are supposed to last. No. However, if you look at the annual fees after year 5, it's gonna take about 2 years to make the Hart and clear ballot, dead even, and after that you start losing money. Clear ballot machine. That brings me closer together, the opposite way, actually makes Hart a better economic choice. If we keep them more than 5 years, we probably keep them twice that.
In terms of screening criteria, it's clear ballot option.
It isn't yet.
Anticipated. approval.
The key is they want to get it prior to this year's election. If that wasn't the case, we could wait until they get approved. But if we want to get it going, and so they can have it for November, you're rolling the dice.
That's my point.
You're rolling the dice.
Clear ballot kind of drops off for me because it's not approved. And it's risky at this point to select that one. We've got 2 that are approved. And based on that, what's the best value for us? Yeah, and Hart's value only stays, if we wait till it goes on contract, it would be more. So that's gonna jump that up. And so if it meets all the other requirements, then why would we want to wait?
And we all believe that, but what happens if in August it comes out and it's less?
That's not, you're not gonna go in that way.
Well, I just
recorded.
Maybe I get approved. Maybe I get approved. Until next year.
So in the
Then
conversation.
it's hard. He's talking about Hart.
Yeah, Hart. So, and then I got one more question. I know it's been discussed many times. The 5-year is included because it's the way they're priced. Are all of them, you able to take those 5 years back out and pay annually or not? Because I thought Hart you could. You could,
Oh,
the first 5 years you could take out and just pay it annually. So that also is a cash flow, cash savings too, because you're making interest on your money instead of paying interest on. I thought that was the only one we could do that with. So there's a little bit of a benefit there. It's not huge, but it's a little.
What's the difference with the wording between average and annual?
what could change there?
I would say that Hart has forecasted theirs very accurately in terms of their maintenance, and the others are, this is our best guess, we're not gonna forecast that far out.
Are they written in stone, any of them? No. Yeah, I think Hearts was.
Hearts is on it.
Hearts was, yeah, it was in stone.
The others weren't really.
So I'd like to make a motion to purchase Hart machines. Okay, and so I guess that's where my question is now, are we buying the 784, or are we buying that minus the 5 years and putting that in Terry's budget to pay the maintenance every year?
I don't care how you was.
What was that?
Al,
I
that's the
like
secretary.
That's,
the machines go to the capital plan, the maintenance goes to Terry, 1 year at a time.
Did you
My
agree with that?
recommendation only.
Starting in year 6?
No, the 5 years that we have to pay, that lump sum can be paid over 5 years.
so it can come off,
What's the lump sum?
come off the total.
Was it 170 something? I don't have it.
I don't have it in front of me because it's not here on this sheet, but I think it's probably in your sheet.
Still have the program for it, it's just where it was programmed. Correct.
So
I
they
don't know
have,
what we're talking about here, because
So we're gonna put this for safe maintenance of 100,000.
where's
It was like 100, it was close to 180,000.
I say it was in the 170.
5 years, yeah, it was 5 years
5
times
years.
whatever that rate was.
that 170 can be paid.
They're talking about 170.
So you pay that yearly.
We had a benefit of that, they bought a business year one, and we'll have, we'll be 180,000 ahead.
So the maintenance is included.
That's what I said, the first 5 years.
So the 784 includes 170, so it'll be a lower number than this.
Thank you.
Right,
That
so
was
you can,
explained. I understand
that- okay, then that's why I brought it up. So
So
you can,
closer to 600,
so we might only be moving 600 and some odd thousand to the capital
plus
plan.
the first.
Plus the first
So
year.
we need to know that before the board meeting to get that.
That's about
It'll be in the
35.
That's what I said.
About 650, you gotta move it.
Okay, that's the way Dave moves it.
That's the way I second it.
Keep in mind, they'll need to move the first year.
Yes, understood.
Okay, so it is hard, and that's the way we're doing it. That's the process. Any more discussion on that?
One question.
Which one would you like?
Hart.
That was gonna be my question.
Yeah, I have to say, I saw the demo, you know, I've seen the clear system and we currently have Dominion. And just seeing the company to deal with is spectacular. They just have this package, you know, like he sent us a detailed project outline on the implementation of all of these machines. I mean, they're there for support there. They are really a partner, and the machines are all manufactured in the States. They're all assembled in the States, and they are just solid. It's a solid, well-baked solution that is completely network disconnected.
And at the same time, we
Very
got
nice.
that so many number of cartridges so that we don't run out of printer ink. We gotta make sure that's all.
The toner,
Yeah.
To the back row, are you comfortable with the hard solution?
Yes, we want to go our whole office.
What's the specific motion being, I mean, the tail motion being?
To buy the hard machines,
To accept this price in this bid,
yes.
that's the first thing. Right, that's just what we're doing first. You're not throwing in money for this and capital that, we're gonna do that separately, one step at a time. Right?
Well,
This
that-
is just to accept the bid.
That will come out in the motion we already did because we didn't have the exact numbers in front of us.
This motion will be the number that I need for the earlier motion.
Right,
So this motion is to accept this,
it's gonna be,
word bid.
it's gonna be this bid, but it's gonna be minus the 5 years of maintenance and however that works out, or 4 years of maintenance. Yeah, the first year on it. Yes, and we'll put that in Terry's budget because she does all the maintenance agreements, and that way it's always, we can see them all in one place.
So we're deferring 4 years, we have to pay the first year.
The first year has to be in.
Just make sure that's
Yep.
clear.
John, Roosevelt.
I'm gonna play a Dana. What was the last thing? The motion we're doing today is back up. What motion?
So if this motion passes to buy the hard machines, it will give me the number that I need for the one you
For the
did
capital
earlier for
plan.
the capital plan one.
To buy them.
Okay, okay.
Invitation is the sincerest form of flattery, Dana.
When was that 2 cups of coffee?
And no hemp.
Didn't know that.
No, that's not what I said.
Yeah, well, we got one more question.
I'm sure this question's been answered a few times, but I don't remember. At 45 voting machines and 40 printers, there are a couple extra in case of one printer falls off the truck and gets destroyed. How many extras are there?
So 36 voting.
One falls off the truck, this place is destroyed, we'll charge who dropped it.
Yeah, but you gotta have a backup immediately, you gotta be able to get one.
So the first 5 years for the license and support is $179,981. So the first year is $33,228.
So there's how you
That's
get
what we
it.
would pay for the first year.
So we take the 179 off of the
146.
784.
You can take 146 off,
The machine,
146, because you gotta pay the first year's, but
but that's gonna go to Terry's. So for the capital plan.
well, it's still gotta be paid though.
That'll be paid this year.
So this year's gotta be paid though.
I don't know the resolution.
No, I think when you buy the machine, you buy the first year's.
We're gonna pay it out. You'll see the resolution.
Okay.
Yeah, she'll get the money. She'll get it back.
Yeah. one way or the
We'll give her the
One
money.
question.
Can we, just go?
Are we good now? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I thought you made a motion for the question.
No,
I didn't acknowledge it.
ignored
we got to vote approve.
You know, in Warren County, they move the question on everything they vote, but they don't do it right. They don't actually vote on moving a question. They don't do it right.
Are you moving that way? Tara?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, move that forward. How you over there over?
Chair, you realize that when we go back for your budget amendment for that, we're gonna go through this again.
And we'll get you guys out of the business of me.
Do you want to talk about?
Not you.
I think it's worth mentioning to the committee. Do you want to share it or would you like to?
You got a grant to cover all this.
No.
Let's try
First
it.
part.
What they did with the grants, there's $20 million that was approved. Of course, we got a small slice.
Yeah. Do we know the number?
They took what was still in, there's two grants. There's a tier grant, and a postage grant. They extended the grants to December 31st, 2023. They removed the date they got purchased by, so it's wide open to purchase stuff again with the grant money. Okay, so there's no limitation that we already bought it, which tied our hands last time. So I'm getting to it. So they took the amount that they approved out of the 20 million for us and provided over what was the balance that we hadn't used yet. There was some,
2022,
yes,
so you're gonna carry over from 2022
yes,
and an additional amount for 2023.
yes. So right now, the tier grant has $57,000 available.
That was 2022.
Yeah, no, that's the new number.
That's the new number.
That's the new number. And it is a little more complicated too.
Oh, good.
The postage is $20,000. Okay? Available. So you got $78,000 available right now. We had submitted the printers that we had before that we are being reimbursed for. And we were given that grant money and Al's going to be sending that money back. So it should increase one of the grants by that amount too. So you're looking over $100,000.
78,000, yeah.
Yep. And the other, when they get it back and apply to it, it will increase
So that's revenue coming into their department. And that would normally be spent on.
it. Well, there's specific things that it's supposed to be used for. This is the fun part. Okay, postage was always supposed to be what we did on postage for the 2022 general election to cover the postage costs because we had to do some specific mailings that were budgeted for. The tier grant was supposed to be technology. It appears that they don't care anymore. You can buy whatever you want. Don't quote me. Because I've talked with Jill, who is in the grant department down in Albany, and they are approving things right and left that really don't have anything to do with technology.
Would you be using any of this grant money for your regular occurring?
We have some things that we still like to purchase using those grants, like some storage cabinets and some label printers and things like that, yes.
And if whatever you didn't spend, if it's revenue to us, it doesn't get spent, we send it back or it falls into fund balance the next year.
No, if we don't use it, we lose it.
Okay.
And the
I have to
Yeah.
document whatever we purchase, say it's label printers. I have to show that we purchased it and paid for it, and then they send us money reimbursing us for that. You'll get a check. For the full amount that we applied.
But is this stuff that we would do on our normal year? Stuff that we would buy, is this offset stuff we would normally buy, that we would replace in Board of Elections?
Well, it gives us opportunity to purchase some things that are not in our budget this year that we would like to have that needs occur. But on the other hand, your point is too, is that when we apply, if we didn't have to grant, maybe not. You know, storage units, with going with the heart machines, we're gonna have a little bit more storage unit because of some of the things that comes with it.
Now, wasn't there a third piece of this that was approved in the budget? So there's a third award you should be getting too, right? There's the tier grant, the postage grant, you should have some piece of that $5 million allocation to pass the budget.
But that was the $38,000.
No, that was the 20 million that passed the budget, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, 20
But
million.
there should have been a third leg to the stool, in addition to the tier and the postage, there should have been a third
Yeah, but
award.
we did all
They just passed on in May, April.
well, that was wasn't that the 20 million if they approved statewide? It's already been divvied up. and divvied into the grant.
Well, I don't know what that number is yet for us.
I don't know specifically what it is. Just
There'll
know
be
it's
a
been
third,
added
there'll be a
on.
third piece.
When we come out with $57,000, I know that is a combination of what was left over and what was added.
Oh, so the 57 has that new money in it?
That's the way I heard it.
Yes. Already has it in.
That's a different story.
So we didn't use all of the postage grants, so there was some funds left over. Then we got awarded out of the 20 million. And they put them two together, and then we have $20,000.
So at some point, you and Melissa and Brian probably should
Yep.
sit down and
Try
get some
to
real
decipher.
solid numbers, because,
Yeah.
especially if we're gonna use any of it for
For
the
this.
machines.
Well,
I need real numbers.
that's exactly what I meant.
I need real numbers.
Well, and I even wondered if we shouldn't just take whatever that number is and put it towards the machines just because, and then figure out how to
So
decipher
even if
the
you could use
others.
it for the first year's maintenance, that's a.
But don't put it towards the machines and then have them come later in the year to say they need fund balance for things that they would have spent out of the grant, but they didn't because the grant was taken for the machine.
Well, my bigger concern is what if they say, well, we like this one, we don't like that one, so you owe us this much back. Whereas if the machines are not gonna say that, you owe you
Between
back.
Tom and now, there's nothing going on.
We hope not.
It's committed money.
But in the past, the postage one hasn't been able.
Can we see a breakdown at some point?
I need,
Somehow, somewhere, maybe just update this a lot.
Yeah.
Because that's a discussion about what you're gonna move into the capital fund to take care of the machines. Maybe you can move 20,000, maybe you can move 80,000, but we should have that discussion, shouldn't we?
But again, one of the points with the grant is that you spend it before you get it.
It's a reimbursable grant, it's not in your pocket.
You gotta spend the money before you can apply for the grant and get reimbursed. You have to
That's a
document.
deal.
Good? Yeah, we'll work on it.
I got Dan Shaw first.
Two things. One is if you approve this, which you will at the board meeting, how long before they come?
You're told after approval, what, 3 weeks?
Yeah, once we order, I think it's about 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
And what do you do when you go?
I have to get a hold of Colin at the state. They're no good. Can't do anything with them. I gotta see what people will do.
We do have a tentative plan to take the screens off and the scanners off and use the bottoms for storage. For storage, yeah. They're just big black boxes on wheels.
There could be some school districts that would take them, one or two off your hands.
For some of
If we're
our
allowed to, that is what we need to know.
Because they were bought with grant money, we gotta figure that out.
Let's find out what's legal.
Well, I mean, you're taking up space, so I didn't know you're gonna dispose of them somewhere.
Yeah. Because they're no
We
good.
don't need them all. We've got way more than what we need.
Well, no, I understand that, but we don't wanna be collecting equipment.
So, yeah.
Like every 10 years, you're gonna end up voting machines.
So my question is, of the money you talked about, how much of it is actually authorized to be utilized for?
It doesn't say that anywhere, it says
Right, it can be used anywhere.
the original grants was postage and tier.
Okay, yeah.
I sent some things in, like on postage, that included the payment of the truck fees that we did for the election, because we were doing machines. Nothing to do with postage, they approved it.
Okay, so they didn't earmark to give you any special for voting machines?
Right. So as far as I'm concerned, it could be used, I can submit it. And in the past, when I've submitted things like stuff like that, they paid it in.
I just thought that there was a very little thing up there, because we had to go through the voting machines, that they were going to provide Chris, like part of that.
I don't, the 20 million wasn't designated only for the voting machines. Specific grants.
Yes, John?
Physical size of the new machines.
Pardon me?
Space, physical size of the machine.
Smaller.
They're smaller.
Smaller. You know, like-
Their suitcase 25%
I'm
smaller.
not sure what the ballot box is. So,
Less space.
but they have part.
So even with smaller machines, there's less space with all the other paraphernalia that goes out to the site.
So I heard it all along, but none of it makes sense. Yeah, check what I see there, school districts might be voting machines like that.
Yeah, if we
I
can.
don't think, sure, they're not gonna.
Well, I don't know if they'll,
Usable.
yeah, I don't know if it's gonna be legal or usable. That's our biggest
It's not gonna support
question.
that window.
That we need to find out, because if it is, that would be ideal. Just give them to them and let them, whatever, however you gotta do
Let
it.
them take care of it.
Yeah.
Make it their
They
responsibility.
make,
That's
they
right.
make a contract with.
Exactly. Let them-
Yeah, that's.
Right. I think what we should do is take that 57,000, that's possible. You're gonna be spending 33,000 on the first year of the warranty. You'll have an invoice for that. You can apply for that to be reimbursed, and then the excess between 33,000 and 57,000. Use that for the other incidentals. But I think the first year warranty, 33,000 should be paid for that.
Good idea. We just have to review all
Well,
the.
yeah, we need all the numbers.
We have to- we have to
Here's the
review
grant,
them all.
here's the grant
Yeah.
numbers. Here's what you're gonna spend it on other stuff.
Yeah.
Besides the machines, it may eat it all up.
Yeah.
You may have a wish list. You may have things that are already budgeted for, you need to. Then
Got a
some
couple
stuff don't.
things that we'd like to have.
But let's check that.
We need the whole picture.
Check the data.
We need the whole picture. We need all the credentials of what we have to do to get that money.
Just so, on a side note, we do have a primary in this month. White Creek, Cambridge, and Easton do not, the rest of the county does, just be aware. So we conservative, except in the towns of Hartford, Kingsford. So we're having almost a full rollout election,
In June,
June 27th,
with the existing machines.
with the existing
Like we
machine.
always did before.
Yes. With ballots that are pre-printed, not by us. On our way. Thank you so much. You guys have been great help. We appreciate the support.
Okay, now we're on to the chiller and rooftop units.
That was the best deal.
Not bad. Not bad. Close to, what. I was gonna ask for, a motion to move a direct bid to full board, but I'm waiting on some calls back because the winning bid on the one didn't provide a schedule of values. So they still can, but I gotta just make sure there are 15% contingencies in there, everything's in there into the bid, so.
Before you accept it.
But I will just share the pricing with you. They're right on target of what we were looking for.
Which one are we talking about first?
We're gonna talk-
Okay, you're talking about it.
Both of them, it happened on both of them. The winning bidder on both didn't provide a schedule of values, which was requested. So, but The lowest bid for the replacement chiller was $584,000. That was Danforth, for the ones that did the 2 rooftops, the last 2 at the jail. So we're familiar with them. The second lowest bid was $526 higher, and that was Eckert Mechanical. Third was T. McGillit Incorporated, and that was $586,500. And we had the Gazzari Mechanical, $604,900, and Eastern Heating and Cooling, $715. And that's the replacement chiller.
So when they did the bid before the last time, you said they did the work, did they provide you that information?
Well, I'd have to go back to look.
Yeah, I believe they did.
Oh, yeah. Every bit different, but the schedule of values that we asked for, they just don't, they didn't provide it, and they didn't provide it.
And you want to make sure that before.
Oh, yes, and the same thing. So they have, they're 584. So the bids are all very close. Anyways, but so that really makes a difference, because that 15% contingency that I asked for in every one.
Yeah, it could be more than $500.
Saves a lot of the change order process and this and that, would change the bid. But the good thing is, so like that one, our T. McGillit, which is our third place, is $586,500. They provided everything. So there's nothing wrong with that. That bid is okay to go. So the highest we're gonna pay for the chiller is $586,500. If I have to discredit Danforth and Eckert because they didn't provide the proper stuff in their bid, then we'll just go with the third place one. Worst case scenario is still within $1,000.
At which point, legally, do you have to consider the first 2 as non-responsive bidders? Or do you allow them to?
So they can provide a schedule of values. So I asked them first, and then Eckert doesn't list their 15% contingency. So I'd ask them, which still, they're probably closer to disqualified than the first place, because they didn't provide a 15% contingency. So I'm sure when I asked, and it was right in there, they signed off that they read the thing, and it'll be followed legally. Like, we'll do everything. You just gotta wait for the process. I was hoping to have the calls back this morning.
Once you open the bid publicly or receive it, are you allowed to then continually communicate, say you didn't include this, you didn't?
I'm allowed to interview them to make sure that everything that's in their bid is complete.
Okay, but if there was an add-on price, because
There is no add-on price.
They would be
That's right. So they don't get a chance to change their number. It's just a clarification.
They get to clarify, and if it's not in there, then
It's not right. If the 15% contingency isn't in their schedule of values, then they're disqualified.
So you wanna probably award something pretty quickly.
Well, I'd like to do it at the full board meeting. So what I would have
In 8 days.
Well, yeah, so this is literally, I probably have it done by tomorrow. Like, you're just waiting for a call back, and they're just gonna email over their schedule of values. And I'm not, and I just look at it and say, it doesn't include it, or it doesn't include everything, and I move on. No, there's no other question after that.
And all the bids that we're talking about right now are in the range acceptable. in terms of
Sure.
what we put in the budget.
Yep.
Need a motion to accept the bid contingent
I would, I don't know how. We've done this a little bit before when we're waiting for information back. I don't know to move it forward, in the rain, but the actual thing has to have, the resolution has to have the name and the price in it, and that's, which I could have, I was hoping to have it for today.
But you definitely have it for Friday, you're telling us worst
Oh, yeah.
case scenario is
And we'll need to amend the budget
$586,000.
for it too.
Yes. So,
It wasn't on this budget.
They weren't in the capital.
They're in the capital plan, but they're not budgeted. Right. And they were in the capital plan at a much lower number, because we thought the last 2 would be the cheapest.
no,
They are the cheapest. That's the combined price, right?
that's the chiller. The RTU is next.
Oh,
The chiller I had in there for an estimated 1 million when we did it before, so we're.
But the last 2 rooftop units were supposed to be the cheapest.
Yeah, but we're not,
Yes,
we're not,
yes,
we're
we're talking
not
about
doing
them
the
yet.
rooftops yet. That's a separate bid. This is the chiller bid
we're
So
talking
the
about.
chiller's in there, or it's not budgeted.
It's not budgeted, it was just,
The chiller's not budgeted.
Neither of these things are budgeted in the capital plan, but they're in the capital plan
They
as
just
a,
have to be
they're coming.
separate.
There's no-
So they're in the capital plan, but not.
there was a budget number put in there.
Right.
And for the chiller, the budget number, I think, was 1 million for the, rooftop units, there's 300,000, which we're good on that, but that's the next.
So
Both will need a budget at some
I'll
point.
move the chiller. What would it say? What would the budget limit say?
It takes it out of contingency and puts it into a line.
So basically creates a line.
Capital plan.
Capital project 125, the capital.
Capital plan contingency.
Right.
Thank you.
The money's in the capital plan contingency, not in the specific project.
Now I understand.
Project create.
So the chiller's coming in at almost half of what you thought.
Yes.
Bill, let's just say
Apple was
60%.
budget.
Yes.
We voted stuff down like that before.
Okay.
Came in after contingency.
Well, Jay was gonna,
Well, I guess if you gotta have a name in it.
Well, I don't know how you would,
The number can wait till next month. The name probably needs to be,
next week.
So if there's-
Friday, you'd wanna.
Well, if we know the resolution's gonna be in our packet, do we have to?
Which goes up Friday, tomorrow.
Right.
tomorrow.
Ryan can sponsor it, right? Ryan can sponsor it once Matt's got the information.
But you don't have to hurry the budget amendment. You can do that in July.
Right. But the award,
The award,
You award the bid, you want to have happen if you want to get it done this year.
yes.
better call them and say the budget packet or the board packet is going out tomorrow. You better get that crap to you by
yeah,
tomorrow.
well, they were supposed to have it today, and I was kind of waiting on my phone, and it wasn't here yet, so. It should be literally, they're just pushing a button and setting their scheduled values. That's it. If they don't, they're disqualified, because it is, like, if they don't send it, you can definitely disqualify them, but why would I want to disqualify somebody that bid legally and is the lowest, right? Like,
I'm comfortable waiting until next Friday to see the amendment. Details of the amendment based on what we just had a conversation on. If the rest of the committee is. So, but if it's not sponsored by the full committee, Brian can sponsor it.
You're only talking $2,000.
Correct.
right, so,
Well, that way you can get it, at least get that thing going this year.
yeah, I mean, it's like one of those fluid things, because you don't have, like, when we put this on this agenda, I don't even have the bids in yet to look at, so you're gonna get the bids, and then you have to receive them, and you get it's just, otherwise you're waiting a month, and sometimes the contract stuff gets, materials in this day and age, when they bid this, they're looking for a commitment soon, because by next month, their materials have changed. So there is language for them to back out if you wait too long.
Right.
So that's why I try to do this, once they come in, and we try to schedule the bid openings to hit. Usually it's government ops, this and that, but I couldn't have it, had to legally be open for longer. So, I don't think,
Okay.
do we have to move anything?
We're gonna give Brian
Yeah.
what he needs to write the resolution, and we're gonna
Gotcha.
see it on the next Friday.
And for the RTU, it's the same exact story, but I'm just gonna give you the prices for, the low bid was 296,586, which I think we had done 300 was what my estimate of was gonna be. Second was 319,700. And, third, 324,000, fourth, 342,700. That's the same exact situation. The first place bidder at 296 didn't provide that part of it. It's funny that they don't, because the other three all did, just like, that's, but the second place bid was 319,700 they provided. So worst case scenario, 319,700. My estimate when we did the capital plan was 300.
Not gonna be Friday also.
Yes. I think that's a little bit messy. If we have to wait the next month, then we do. It's just,
It could be hard to make.
well, you just run the
Yeah,
risk
we
of
may not
it.
get it done.
Right.
So,
Good luck.
yeah.
If it comes through, so.
Any other business?
So one thing that I forgot to share with you that I probably should, fairly important. Some of you may already know, but the Senate and Assembly have a bill that is gone through both houses, in my understanding, and is currently in committee. They have proposed a moratorium on in-rem foreclosure proceedings for a year. I think this stands probably a very high possibility of passing and being signed by the governor. I will inform you the minute I know, but I wanted to make sure that I got that on your radar now because we are literally inches away from the finish line on 2 more years that may have to go on pause for another year if this passes, and I think it has a high probability of passing. It's their reaction to the Henneman case. So I think because they're in end of session and don't want to rush through changes to the real property tax law, their answer is to just put everything on pause until they have time to sit down, and because it's going to require significant rewrites to the Article 7 real property tax law to talk about the surpluses from the auction. So I think that their way to kind of slow down and do it right is to just put a moratorium on the auction completely. So anything that is done after July 1st of 2023 has to be is on pause completely. So if we took it before July 1st, they require you to reserve the surplus. I don't know that we're in a position, so that's gonna be really, we would be right on the cusp of that date. So I think it has an extremely high probability of passing because with the Supreme Court decision, they really want to do it right. So the way to do it right is kind of slow down and hit pause.
They really want to do something, I'm pretty sure it probably won't be great.
Yeah, which means the moratorium, it won't be, it'll be something instant.
So it would then put us in a position where we're gonna foreclose on 3 years, a year from now, and put people even deeper in the hole. So it adds another whole year of taxes to years that they're already behind, because we're enforcing on the 20s and 21s. So now they're gonna have another year of taxes and the moratorium is the double-edged sword. It buys them time, but the other side of the sword is it buys them time.
It also buys them time the other way. Couldn't they go, no proton, as he says, and go back and say, now you only have to pay the oldest one because you already owed 3 years?
But that would be new legislation.
Right.
That's probably.
That's why what they're gonna do.
That's coming.
Because that way none of those are in foreclosure if they pay 1 year's payment.
Well, every year that gets closer.
Be good.
That gets closer.
Right, but you're already out the 3 years. So that's the perfect time to do it.
It will be.
You just pay your taxes, don't pay your rent, don't pay anything, don't take care of it.
The reverse order gets farther and farther every year, that will happen.
Well, I'll bet that's what they'll do.
The reverse order will be changed, that's gonna happen.
Is the moratorium, you think, gonna be for 1 year or just until they come out with legislation?
Well,
Then you'll be able to.
It's written as a 1 year.
But the 1 year makes sense because they're already 2 years. And if you're doing the reverse order on 3 years, you go the third year, you pay the one. Anybody that pays one comes out of the auction. And you just start from there forward.
Yeah. But I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that was out there because, again, it is my only personal opinion. I think it has a high probability of passing.
So there's no reason to rush.
Well, I'm just letting you know that the auction that was.
Well, the worst part was we paid all the money to get this far.
The auction that was scheduled for July is probably not going to happen. That's what I wanted to get on your radar.
And you're not gonna get that tax money and you're gonna make us all whole and you're gonna cash flow it and that's gonna bite into your fund balance.
Yeah. The other thing that I want to throw out real quick, I took a look at the November auction that we did have and took a look at what the Henneman case, if Henneman was in place in November, what it would have looked like. And it was about a $526,000 swing to the county if we had to eat all the losses, return all the surpluses. So the swing in our November auction was just over $500,000. That it kind of hadn't been in place in November. Just to kind of give you a.
In the negative direction.
Yeah. It would cost you $350 instead of making.
So that would have cost the taxpayers $500,000. in order to,
Right,
in order
So you-
to let these people not pay their
yeah,
taxes.
so you penalize the person that pays their tax and tell them to pay more.
That's 1.5% on the tax rate.
That's sad. Okay,
Right.
next.
All right,
So
so
the
I'm
question-
going to use the word quickly, so I'll use it again quickly. On Saturday, we had a hose giveaway in the probation department down in the basement of the C. Discovered by an officer who came in, unfortunately, on Saturday to get something he'd forgotten in the office. Buildings and Grounds came in, stabilized the situation. We took a look at what we had on hand and what to deal with. It was a little bit more overwhelming than what we could do, so it was decided to call a quick response to come in, try to stop it, legal stop any, get more of the moisture out, try to avoid losing any more drywall than we could help. We're probably about 1 to 2 feet off the ground in the drywall and insulation right now. Demolition has started. We've notified the insurance company. The adjuster's been out. The response is doing the demolition. We'll then take a look at estimates for the repair work. And also, as long as we're down there, we're not going to replace probably half the carpet. So there'll be some other expenses there. You know, might as well recarpet the whole place as long as we're in there. And anything else that needs to be done. So that's ongoing. The insurance company's involved. The claims filed. We'll have updates for you probably in public safety through Dan Voucher. We did yeoman's work and was here until 3 a.m. before he was first response.
Well, the county attorney was here until 12:30 a.m.
And the administrator.
in the administrator.
You started at Bumpkins?
We did not.
Oh.
I know.
I try not to stay up until tomorrow. That's one of my mottos. Don't stay up until tomorrow. But
Nothing good happens after midnight.
around my house. So we're all set. Just wanted to let you know that happened. You'll be hearing more about probably about whatever other plans there are in the future. Matt's all on top of it. We're sending in an engineer to look at the part that we think failed, the insurance company is. So there may be other ongoing things the insurance company is doing with whoever provided the part, but it worked the way it was supposed to. One thing it did kind of show us is that guy hadn't come in that day, or if it'd been Memorial Day weekend, it had some serious whatever, so
After
maybe, yeah, so
Figure it
maybe
out.
some ongoing discussions about that and, you know, some other kind of monitoring equipment, so all kinds of things are swirling around this. Try to firmly close the barn door, but the immediate problem is solved, it's ongoing, just wanted you to know about it. So if you see big trucks out back or things like that, that's the equipment coming and going. They put in 5 or 6, you know, 3x4 heavy duty dehumidifiers and all kinds of tended the thing off because it was pretty musty and we had a jury of 120 people who come in that building Monday morning, so.
And our deductible is
25,
25, and
There's money
we
in the
budget
budget.
2, so there's, you know, most of one left.
right?
I just add to that, just so everybody knows, this is how it usually, we usually pay out of our budget and then it gets back, you know, when insurance cuts a check. So at the end of the year, budget time, you know, if it's close, we usually set up to pay out of buildings and grounds. Sometimes they go, and they show up.
So you'll be hearing more about it, we just want to let you know that happened over the weekend.
So nobody's surprised.
Right,
Going forward, when did that happen?
right.
That was
So that's it, sir.
James.
We are coming to the end of session, so I want to bring up something that tourism, Laura and Oswald and I had a conversation with Mark Dovidishna last week, and I just got an alert from NISTAC. So legislation is on the floor. It's already passed the Senate, or looks to pass the Senate today, and they're trying to get it passed to the Assembly for legislation for short-term rental taxes for you to implement that. You know, they're using the ACA and the EF funding that was taken away as justification to try to push this through quickly. So that'll follow. It's being pushed to the Assembly floor, hopefully by tomorrow to get that passed. It's a good thing for us as this additional revenue, but it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt the short-term rental operators because they're going to lose revenue as a result.
No, they won't raise the prices.
Because you have to bring a rate down in order to accommodate the individuals coming into this market. So as a result of us getting 7%, I'm not going to be able to raise my rate or keep my rate incrementally annually. I'm going to have to lower it in order to
You still will be,
We believe
if they
that.
can afford their rent to begin.
We believe
There's
that.
still gonna be a base there, don't get me wrong, Sam, there still will be a base there. I'm just saying it will impact the short-term rental operators from a total revenue standpoint.
You know, what I was seeing is that there's some glamping going on and some tiny houses and remote campsites they're using for Airbnbs. I'm just thinking for that experience, if we have openings in the pod at the jail, we can give them like a Muslim experience.
As long as it's only-
We can
as long as it's only
use some of the-
4
some of the pods over
As long as it's only 4
The
units,
sensing
as
experience.
long as it's only 4 units, Matt, we're all good.
Yeah, well, you know, there's an opportunity for revenue there.
Yeah.
Your experience for the weekend could be one of.
They're gonna use the jail cell.
We have people that are
They are.
experiencing it.
They are.
I think that's something the Sioux Clary should look at
They
the
are.
courthouse.
They are using.
Oh, there you go.
it. They're doing it already.
So,
People signed up and they.
That's like I've been here
they could
before.
have- They could have sold more cells.
You're kidding. There are people that are gonna stay in the cells at the courthouse and jail. They're paying to do that.
You're the wrong generation, man.
But they don't see them that neutral.
Experience.
And you're coming back.
Bridget, is there anything else to come before the finances committee?
I'm sure people pass away, you know.
Hey,
Oh, come on.
we're adjourned.